No stupid questions. If a vegan, or an animal rights activist had an infestation in their home, how would they deal with it? Basically, I've had a few ants in the house recently, and to combat the problem, I've had to put down the ant killer powder and ant baiting stations. It made me think, how would a vegan or animal rights activist get rid of an infestation of some sort, as it would be a necessity to rid them from your home? I am in no way bashing your beliefs or views, and just interested. Thank you. I had carpenter ants in my house, and I'm also a vegetarian. I had no trouble calling the exterminator, but went through the trouble of looking for a green one. He did spray his stuff, but I expect the advice he gave me would work for a vegan. It's kept my house free of ants since then. The ants are eating your house because they have motive and opportunity. You have a piece of wet, rotten siding. They love soft, moist wood, so they're drawn to that. Second, a branch from the tree in your yard touches your roof, making a bridge for them. Fix the siding and cut back the branch, and they'll go elsewhere. I'm vegetarian also, but I'm not militant. I feel like it's less about perfection and more about taking steps that help. And any steps count. 1 meal a week is a step. When we have had any issues, we use poison. Killing ants doesn't wipe out any positive effects of my diet choice on animal farming or the environment. It's like saying unless you drive an electric car, no car, you shouldn't recycle. I don't understand why people expect perfection when it comes to reducing animal protein in your diet. And yes, there are militant vegan assholes who want to shame you. Those people are assholes regardless of their diet, and will find plenty of ways to make themselves feel superior regardless of diet. Most of us are pretty chill. So much so you probably don't even know our diet choice. Yeah, it's a good idea to try and take preventative measures if possible. Those both save your property and keep from killing anything. There are safe, and even natural, alternatives that people recommend, though I can't promise that they work. When I had an ant problem, I put cinnamon all around where they were coming in as a supposed natural deterrent. It seemed to work, though I didn't do any scientific testing to be sure, haha. As a vegan, I would try to just remove them if possible. If it doesn't work though, extermination time. Being vegan doesn't mean not defending yourself from potentially life-threatening rat bites. Ditto. And the humane traps are even more inhumane. The animal will be trapped in adhesive and either slowly starve to death or gnaw a limb off. A quick death is better than a slow one. Yeah, if there's no way to get them out alive, then I'd try to find eco-friendly and cruelty-free products to get rid of them. Same. I don't kill people either, but if someone came into my house uninvited and wouldn't leave, I'd call the cops or grab my shotgun. I don't know where I heard this quote and I can't seem to find it anywhere, but it was along the lines of even a kind man doesn't sleep near the wild beast. Just because I like ants doesn't mean I want them eating up my house. And if they pose no threat to you, removing them from their innocent life? Why are you in control of an animal's fate? You monster. THH is not vegan. We were vegetarian or vegan for around 12 years. I still don't buy fur. I will get turtles out of the road, save drowning worms and the lot. That being said, if it tries to eat me or bite me, it's a goner. You're not my food, and I'm not yours. I'm not a murderer by nature, but if you break into my house and try to eat me, I might shoot you, ya know? That's just my thought on it. Very interesting. Thank you for that. What if it was in your home but not doing you any direct harm? For example ants, or say a wasp's next to backdoor you often use, that kind of thing. Not a vegetarian nor vegan, but I like that rationale. I feel the same way. I try to live and let live, but mice fall in a strange place. They are not trying to eat you, they just want to eat your leftovers. So they aren't causing any direct harm to you. However, they do make a mess and might chew holes in walls and boxes. Theoretically, you could live with mice and accept them as a part of your home. As someone who lived in a house of vegans, who dealt with a horrible mouse infestation in our flat for 3 months unsuccessfully. My own experience says they will try unsuccessfully to deal with the problem without hurting the creatures until one of their fed-up roommates calls pest control when they're all out of the house one day. Is getting a cat to eat the mice allowed under vegan rules? There's a big difference from veganism or activism to what you're describing. Sounds more like Jainism, which is a sect of Buddhism or something. Even the staunchest vegan I know wouldn't tolerate roaches. I thought all Buddhists are against killing animals. I wonder how they would deal with an infestation of some types. For all the Americans who claim they are Buddhist, you'd think we'd hear more about this. I am just trying to get different point of views. I'm not trying to describe anything really in the title and text. I despise roaches. They make my skin crawl, but I still catch and release them. Nothing gets killed in my apartment except sugar ants because freak those guys. I think everyone has a limit. I'm mostly vegan. Wait, why do vegans value cockroaches' life less than others? I assume this would come down to a matter of morals and/or beliefs. People group any species, other than human, into 3 different categories: pest, pet, food. Where you put any said species is up to you. Or another way to look at it would be to either kill it, care for it, consume it. I see all animals as animals. To me, the only difference between a pet and a wild animal is the closeness of that animal in my life. I view a pet as family, whereas I view a wild animal as a stranger. I wish no harm to the wild animal, but I would harm them if necessary to protect my own family, as people would likely harm other humans to protect their own family. The same goes for humans. I would harm another human if necessary to protect my pet, family. Animals are animals, human or non-human, and I value those that are closer to me on an emotional level, but I wish no harm for those I know nothing of. I don't agree with the death penalty for any crime, but if you must kill someone to protect someone important to you, then so be it. Same goes for an infestation. An infestation can lead to a decreased ability to protect the animals, human or otherwise, that I love. So if necessary, then I would use whatever means required to rid my home of that infestation. Just as I'd kill bacteria harmful infesting my body. This isn't accurate for everyone. Some of us believe all life is the same regardless of type of creature, from the one-celled organism to the human. That depends on how the person feel about killing. It is in the nature of all animals, including humans, to protect themselves and defend their territory from the same species and other species, sometimes going as far as killing the threat. There are natural plants and sprays that can help if you do not want to kill them, or you can set a trap or poison. Suffering and death is a part of life. Nothing can avoid it, but it is up to you to decide how much pain and suffering you are willing to exert on the lives around you. I personally try to relocate by using food or natural plants that repel, but I am not against the idea of killing them if it doesn't work. I also eat meat, but only from ethical sources, as commercial farming is an atrocity if you care about the suffering of any species that is not human. Plants are also lives, IMO. So I also cannot subscribe to the message of others who choose a plant-based diet as if plant lives don't matter because they aren't feeling, which is a whole other can of worms that science recently is proving wrong. Just my 2 cents. Not a vegan or an animal rights activist, but I am a person who generally likes animals and avoids killing them. I had some mice take up residence in my house in the middle of winter. What I wanted to do was catch them and take them outside, but since it was winter, they would just freeze to death outside. So I researched the fastest way to kill them, and that was snap traps. It made me pretty dang sad to kill them, but they carry disease and their feces can get people sick, so they have to go. So I guess the answer is, I try a bit harder to avoid the kill them route, but when it is still on the table. I had a religious studies professor mention this once, and he said something to the effect of the poison being placed as an offering, and if the gods saw fit for the animal or insect, To have that offering, so be it. I remember there was an audible giggle in the audience, and he more or less admitted it sounded a bit flimsy, but I suppose whatever works. I'm not vegan or even vegetarian, but just don't want to poison or touch any pests. We have 2 cats and so far they've done a great job on pest control. Any critter, mouse, bug, fly etc. that gets indoors is dead in minutes. We guide more dangerous things like wasps outdoors with a cup and a paper, but anything else is free range for the kitties. Just the presence of cats tend to keep mice and rats away. Vegan here. Obviously opinions vary here, but at least for me, I'm not gonna kill or harm an animal unnecessarily. The key being unnecessarily. I have every right to defend myself, or my home. I'm not gonna live in a wasp nest, ant-infested home lol. I'll let spiders out and such, but things like ant infestations are just completely impractical to consider trying to relocate. There's no one answer to it, different people have different ideas about things. I know some people who outright refuse to even move spiders from their homes, because they saw it as the spider's home, too. I try my best to release animals out if they end up in my house, or try to drive them away with non-lethal methods, but if that's not a possibility, I will get more aggressive methods as a last resort. I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of vegans and animal rights activists are against the cruel or unethical treatment of animals. There is a big difference in confronting a wild animal or pests in a collision of living turfs and breeding animals in horrendous circumstances, causing unnecessary suffering and an untimely and often cruel death that is mostly motivated by human convenience. As for pests, the best way is to try to get rid of them as humanely as possible without harming or killing them, relocating them, isolating yourself better, making the environment less attractive for them. If there is truly no other option, then getting rid of them in the most ethical way is the way to go. I worked at a vegetarian-owned establishment where he didn't let us kill cockroaches. Happy to say I don't work there anymore. Apparently, he's okay with using poison now though, from what I hear from other employees there. There are a lot of kinds of vegans, and every answer will be different, depending on their attitude towards other living creatures. I am vegan, and don't eat any animal products except honey. I make an exception for honey because I think bees are actually better off producing honey for us than making hives in the wild that can get attacked, stolen, waterlogged, etc. I do however kill spiders in my house as quickly and painlessly as possible. If I had a termite infestation, I would deal with it, but I would choose the option that had the least amount of suffering possible. Here's my thought process. First, my responsibility. I am responsible for my actions and lack of actions. I am responsible when I squash a spider or purchase products made with animal. I am responsible for living my life in the most moral way so others may be inspired to follow my lead. Because the only thing I have full control over is my behavior. I have chosen to minimize the suffering of living creatures because I believe that is the most moral thing to do. To do this, I will make it my policy to learn where my food comes from and not to support food that is the product of animals, because any animal that is grown under human control has been denied the chance to live a free life, and often the conditions for the animals are poor and painful. I will also never choose an option that leads to the suffering of another living creature so long as other options are available. With all of that said, I acknowledge that as a human, it is in my power to exert control over the environment when it is out of balance. I also must do what I can to protect my species and ensure its future. If an invasive species of locust is tearing through crops like wildfire, it is a human duty to first prevent those kinds of things from happening in the first place, but second to stop those kinds of things as humanely as possible. TLDR, conclusion. I will minimize the suffering of living creatures at every opportunity. I must also protect myself, my health and my species. If there is a way to accomplish my goals without harming living creatures, I shall choose no other path. However, if I must make a choice of life or death between me or my family's health and the health of another living creature, I will choose the quickest, most humane death of the adversary because there is no suffering after death. Chrysanthemum pollen repels ants. Most exterminators, at least where I'm at, spray mump pollen around the apartment to get rid of ants. Doesn't hurt or kill them, they just can't stand the smell. I try and always have potted daisies and marigolds indoors and outdoors in the summer for ant repellent. Way cheaper and safer than poison, and more effective. Veganism is the philosophy of reducing animal suffering to its lowest possible by reasonable means. This categorically includes stopping to support the meat and dairy industry, the fur industry, poaching, sport hunting, the animal testing cosmetic industry and all other industries that harm animals. Do this and you have dramatically reduced unnecessary animal suffering. Congratulations. As I said, anything before this is categorical. Afterward comes morally gray areas that begin to conflict with our living standards, and this includes extermination services. Ask many vegans and you'll get many different answers. Most would tell you that they would seek the best compromise that align with their morals, but that doesn't automatically exclude using extermination services.